Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Coe
Hello.
Show. My name is Mason Coe. I'm here with my co-host, Aaron Coe. And before we started really diving into today's episode, we decided, maybe we'd shout out a few local businesses that we like during these troubling times. What's yours?
So there's many of you watching this, if you live around the Mill Creek area, you've heard of the Twisted Lime. You've probably been there for happy hour, and of course, like a lot of businesses, they're shut down right now, but they are doing to-go orders. So if you have a place that you like, go hit them up for some to-go orders to keep them in business. Twisted Lime is awesome. So if you live around here, get a to-go order, and on Monday next week, you can pick up freaking margaritas there.
Okay,
To go
that's kinda
margaritas.
nuts. That's kind of nuts.
Why has this not been a thing for my whole life? To go margaritas.
Yeah,
What the hell?
the whole drinking and driving thing, maybe a little bit of a concern.
Well,
but
I'm only gonna drink half of it on the way home. Like, what's the big deal? No, I'm just kidding, Governor. I'm just kidding. Don't change the rule now.
Yeah, he's listening. He's listening.
But they have a lot of great food there. If you like Hawaiian stuff, they've got Loco Moco and huli bowls, and then they have all your typical bar food, burgers, wings. They have it's all really good. They've been around for a while because they're really good. When they reopen, don't go there for happy hour because I want to get a table. So don't order now, but don't go there for happy hour later. So they're awesome. So guys, hit them if you live around here, you've been there, hit them up, get some to go stuff. They're awesome.
For sure. And the one I would like to shout out is Thai Rhapsody in Mill Creek, right across from LA Fitness in the town center. Just delicious Thai food. Thai food is probably my favorite type of food. I love, obviously, the pad Thai. I mean, just the classic. They've got great, what is it? Garlic chicken? Crispy garlic chicken is super good. Pad see curry, all that business. Super good. Definitely go hit them up. They do takeout right now too. Obviously, you can't sit in there and eat, but you can call and do takeout. So definitely go check them out for sure. Yeah. So well, hopefully, I think we'll each have one every week for however long we decide to do it. Yeah. So now let's move into the limited amount of sports news that's going on. The first one I have here is Rex Ryan calling Amari Cooper a turd. The Cowboys, along with signing Amari Cooper to a $100 million contract, decided to sign Aldon Smith, who has a laundry list of charges, including DUIs, domestic violence, all that business. And they still have not signed Dak Prescott, who they have claimed is their quarterback of the future. So.
You know Alden Smith's worst offense? Do you realize what he did?
What?
He played for the fucking 49ers.
Yeah, so a lot of people are kind of questioning that one. I mean, I don't know. This doesn't seem like a redemption story thing. It seems like a little, I mean.
It's a shot in the dark. I mean,
yeah.
Who was the... Oh, gosh, there was a defensive end that, beat up his girlfriend.
DeMarcus,
a little further
I don't want to say the wrong name.
I'm blanking on his name, but... It was really bad, but
I remember
they signed him too.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to say the wrong name.
Yeah. Greg Hardy. I hope I have that right.
Yeah. Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy. So yeah, I mean, not signing they're claiming that he's their guy, but they're signing everybody else around him. Except for him.
He's a good quarterback, but I'm not giving that guy $35 million a year. I'm franchising him. I'm drafting a guy. I'm gonna see if I can find a guy, but I'm not paying that guy $35 million a year. He ain't done shit in the league.
I mean, I don't know about that. He was the most efficient passer in the NFL last year. I mean, I think he's been underpaid. He's been vastly underpaid.
He's had the best running back and one of the best offensive lines in football. And how many playoff games has that guy won?
All right. I mean, I guess, new head coach, maybe I guess you want to see what he does with him, but I mean, Jason Garrett, he was the turd, honestly. But I thought Rex Ryan saying he wouldn't sign him was funny, considering he was going to try to make a comeback in the NFL, and no teams are paying him either. So
yeah,
I did mention that on Twitter. Follow me at Mason Charles Coe on Twitter. All right, it's sounding hopeful that the NFL will be able to start when it's supposed to in September. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who the hell knows? But you know
Yeah.
what? I need a little optimism, so
Yep.
I'm ready to go.
Yep. I'm just gonna ride that wave so far.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, hopefully by then we'll have mass testing and all that business. Cam Newton still not signed to a team. When you got teams like the Bears trading for an $80 million Nick Foles, the Chargers saying they're gonna go with Tyrod Taylor.
In other news, no team has signed me yet either.
Oh my God. Okay. If you go look at Cam Newton's Instagram right now, that man looks like fucking Cam Chancellor. Like he is ripped right now. He's on a revenge tour. I'm telling you, like I honestly think he's back. He hasn't been healthy in like 2 years. I think he's back to being healthy, and I think he's hungry for the first time in a while.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not eating whatever.
Oh, shut up! Come on. What? What?
I want no part of that guy.
What? Why?
I mean, if we're gonna have a best dressed competition, fine.
my
Maybe I
God.
throw him out there.
Listen, I mean, you gotta agree. He would fit in L.A. at least. Right, for the Chargers. The Chargers need to sell tickets somehow. They couldn't even sell out like
they need a clown.
soccer. They couldn't sell out like a where did they play last year? It was like a built for like college soccer, and they couldn't sell it out. Like I don't know.
They
I
have
mean,
a lot of fans there for the other
team. Yeah, it was an away game every damn time. They need someone. I mean, he fits in the LA lifestyle. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, in the Bears, you're really having a quarterback competition right now between Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky. They're gonna have an open competition. They're just gonna, I don't know. And I mean, okay, before I say this, I mean, Wazoo fans, just get fucking real, okay? I mean, you're really gonna have Gardner Minshew over Cam Newton? You want Gardner Minshew leading the charge? He's been in an RV all off season. Well, like what?
Hey, at least he's been isolated.
Oh my God. I guess I don't know. Anyway, I haven't been updated on that. I wonder how he's doing. But I don't know about the whole RV trip in your first offseason as being potentially the starter of your team. I mean, that's just the Jaguars, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, Clowney only asking for 17 mil. Does that make you more optimistic, or are you scared now?
Every day that goes by is more likely that the Seahawks are going to sign him. I heard that the Browns were trying to throw some money at him, but every day that goes by, he's closer to coming back here. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance, and for a number that's not absurd. So, John Snyder is always patient. Sometimes that's hard for us.
Yeah.
But he's not, he could have gone out and thrown $22 million a year at him on day one and gotten him, but he's going to wait for the market to come back to him. So that's what he's doing. He's playing it smart. It's a gamble, but hopefully it'll pay off. We'll see.
Yeah, I've heard the Titans are apparently making offers to get him, and also on the Madden TikTok account, there was like, I don't know, they showed some like preview thing, and for some reason there was Clowney in a Titans jersey. Like there was some weird cut, and it was like, I don't know why, and people were like obviously freaking out about it. That probably didn't mean anything, but it's just weird. I don't know. How do you, I don't know. Anyway. All right, and last little bit of news we have. Congratulations to Kobe, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett to make it into the Hall. There's a WNBA player that made it as well that I forgot to write down. So yeah, well, congrats to all of them for making it. Obviously, the three players that I listed, 100% deserving, all champions, all legends.
Yeah, there's no debate with those guys. It's interesting. Two of them were drafted out of high school and kind of started a little bit of a landslide with guys. Obviously there's the rule now where you have to play. You have to take a year outside of high school. So whether that's college or overseas. But when these guys had success, a bunch of guys started jumping, and some of them fell on their face, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But these guys were amazing. It's amazing to me that, Kobe was, what pick was he? He was the 13th pick by the Charlotte Hornets who traded him.
Wow.
I'm sure they have regretted that every day. But that was a pretty good class. You had Iverson at the top. You had Marcus Camby, who was a solid player, maybe a little bit of a disappointment, but he was a good defender for many years. He had Abdur Rahim, good player. Marbury was good for quite a few years. He had Ray Allen, obviously, was outstanding for a long time, and Antoine Walker was a really good player at the top of that draft. And then you had some kind of a bunch of busts. 7 through 12 were pretty bad. There were a couple players that were okay, and then you had Kobe in there at number 13, and I mean, no question. We're going to talk about some hypotheticals, and one of the hypothetical. What if there had been no Michael Jordan? Let's just say that Michael Jordan never existed. I think Kobe Bryant kind of fills that void in a big way. Like he's talked about as, you're arguing, is he the GOAT?
Definitely.
He's in that discussion.
Definitely.
And, he was, yeah. I mean, just no doubter. It's great that he played his whole career for one team. I always like to see that,
Yep.
even if I hate the team.
Tim Duncan too.
Tim Duncan. What's amazing about Tim Duncan is the guy didn't say a damn word. Like I don't know what his sound of his voice sounds like. But he just 25-12 every damn night for 20 years basically is what he did.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Duncan. He was weirdly one of my favorite players to watch. I just love watching that Spurs team. And I still feel like he's just so underappreciated, obviously. I mean, he's got to be definitely top 5 power forwards in NBA history. And I mean, no one talks about him when we're talking, top 10, top 15. People very rarely throw Tim Duncan in there. And I feel like he definitely does not get the respect. Honestly, same thing with KG too. Yeah. I mean, KG was like the best player in the league for a couple years there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we got to experience that we briefly mentioned last episode was really just the impact that Kobe had on LA. I mean, shortly after his passing, when we were outside of the Staples Center, hours and hours and hours before game time, I would say probably a quarter to a third of the people just walking around the streets of LA were wearing Kobe jerseys. And it's like, I didn't even consider that many people out here would own Kobe jerseys, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And these people weren't people that are going to the game either. They're just going about their day. I mean, this is like 4 or 5 hours before game time, and then obviously, I think if all goes well, I should be able to put a picture up for the YouTube viewers. Just the amount of people that contributed to the memorials. Artists out there just making, incredible things, and it was just dead silent in the center of LA.
It was crazy. It was just unlike anything I've ever been a part of.
Huge crowds, not a peep though.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was just, I mean, yeah, like I just get the chills like thinking about it. I mean,
yeah.
And I think it was Austin Eckler. These weren't the words he used, but the way he described playing in LA and moving, he's part of the Chargers team that moved from San Diego to LA. There's just so much other shit to pay attention to. And even when the Lakers were the worst team in the league, Kobe still had captured LA's attention. And I mean, that's just not something that everyone can say. I mean, like I said, you can focus on 8 different sports teams or whatever, however many. Hollywood, there's everything in LA.
Right.
But Kobe was the guy there for damn near 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What are we moving on to? We have Okay, imagine if all of the all-decade temes in NBA 2K20 played in a tournament against each other. So, this is I don't know, pretty interesting. Again, for the YouTube viewers, we will be popping up pictures of the rosters for the teams, but I'll still list them off. So, for the 60s, we have Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bob Cousy, Bob Pettit, Willis Reed, Jerry Lucas, George Mikan, Richie Guerin, Sam Jones, and Lenny Wilkins. For the 70s, we have Kareem, Dr. J, Walt Frazier, John Havlicek, Elvin Hayes, Rick Barry, Bill Walton, Pete Maravich, Dave Cowens, Wes Unseld, Bob McAdoo, JoJo White, and Bob Lanier. Let's see. For the 80s, 1980s. 1980s all decade.
I got it here. We got Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Moses Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, Isaiah Thomas, George Gervin, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kevin McHale, James Worthy, Julius Erving, Dominic Wilkins, and Adrian Dantley.
Okay. The 90s team, Michael Jordan, Hakeem, John Stockton, Pippen, Karl Malone, Drexler, David Robinson, Gary Payton, Penny Hardaway, Patrick Ewing, Lonzo Mourning, Grant Hill, and a young Shaq. The 2000s, we got Kobe, Duncan, Garnett, O'Neal, LeBron, Dirk, AI, Dwayne Wade, Steve Nash, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Paul Pierce, and Yao Ming. And then the 2010s team, we got Prime LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Kawhi, James Harden, Giannis, Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, and Carmelo Anthony. So, some things to consider before we jump into this. There are some overlap with the players. For example, we have, Hakeem and Jordan are both on the 80s and 90s. Both of their primes are obviously in the 90s, so we will consider the 90s Michael Jordan a better player than the 80s one when we're considering this. Same thing for LeBron. I think we would all agree that 2010's LeBron, when he was on the Heat, that was probably his better years than his early years on the Cavs. So the 2010 LeBron will be better than the 2000 LeBron in that case. So yeah, we have, I put together a little bracket. That should be popped up on the screen for the YouTube. So the first matchup we have 1970s versus the 2000s. What do you think?
Oh boy. So, I was a kid in the 70s. I didn't watch a lot of NBA then. I was living in West Virginia, so it wasn't on TV. I was more of a football fan. And then I moved out here in 79, sadly, right after the Sonics won the title. So everybody was super excited. Sonic stuff everywhere. And I was like, what is a Sonic? But there are just some incredible players from that era. What's the other decade?
2000s.
2000s. Okay. So yeah, with the 70s, I mean, obviously you've got Kareem, who's one of the great players of all time. You've got Dr. J, who could play. Those two guys could play in any era for sure. And one of the things that's interesting about this conversation is what rules are we using, right? In this so-called game.
Yeah.
Is there a 3-point shot? Because if we're Pistol Pete Maravich, he didn't have a 3-point line when he was shooting from 40 feet. So that was a 2-point shot back then for
Jerry West for part of his career too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then are we playing actual basketball? Or are we playing this pussy ass stuff that
okay,
we're
we
playing
need to
these
relax
days?
with that. Wow. Okay, man. All right, I'm just not even gonna.
Let me just open this lane up for you, sir. Go ahead and drive to.
You couldn't even play help defense back then. You couldn't play help defense. You couldn't help.
That's not true. You just couldn't double team a guy who didn't have the ball. You couldn't play zone, but you could still help. You just had.
It was so limited.
It had to come when the ball was en route to him. So.
Yeah, that's why you just had big, huge, unathletic ass white guys in the middle just hacking everybody. Now you actually have skilled big men that know how to play real defense instead of just shoving people.
Wouldn't it suck if you were 7'4", right? And you grow up watching these big guys playing in the NBA and making millions because they're 7'4".
Yeah.
And now you're 7'4" and you can't even get a damn job in basketball.
Yeah, you got dudes that are like 6'10" beating you out at center position.
Yeah.
Because they're actually skilled and know the game of basketball beyond
soft.
Don't let ball go in. Okay, so what's your pick, old man?
Oh gosh, so To me, I mean, there's some great. I mean, again, great players here. Like Bill Walton, honestly, I feel like he's kind of an overrated NBA player. He was hurt a lot of his career.
And none of that is because you hate him as a broadcaster.
Oh god, he's not a broadcaster. He's like a homeless person that they throw on there, and he doesn't even talk about the basketball game. But anyway, he was on some championship teams. He's one of those guys that he was. First of all, he was a great college, maybe one of the best college players of all time. And then in the NBA, I feel like he was overrated. He again, a lot of injury trouble. He was on championship teams, so that's kind of he gets elevated because he won championships in college and the NBA.
Almost like how MJ gets elevated because he has more championships than LeBron.
It's not the same thing at all. Because Jordan actually won those championships. Bill Walton just sat there.
Bill Walton was the best player on those teams.
He was on LSD for the whole game. But yeah, there's some great players here, but it was. I got to go with the 2000s on that. Just looking at these. I mean, my gosh, you got Kobe, you got Duncan, Garnett, you got Shaq, you got LeBron James.
I gotta say, 2000s.
It's a damn good roster.
I mean, you got like all these guys like hitting their prime, like either the beginning or the end of their prime, right in the 2000s. It's like, the way I've heard it described is, which I believe is, it's kind of in between Jordan and LeBron.
Right.
So, like, it's really forgotten. But you got, I mean, like, damn near prime LeBron. You got prime Shaq, prime KG, prime Tim Duncan, prime Kobe, prime Dirk, prime AI, prime D-Wade, prime Steve Nash, right at the end of his prime Vince Carter. I mean, yeah, like, all these guys are right in their prime. And I feel like people kind of disrespect that era. Maybe, I don't know, the game itself might have been a little bland, but players were.
The transition of basketball is interesting. You had the 80s, which was, super fast paced for the most part. You had, Lakers Showtime and all that. The 90s became a much more defensive era, hard nosed. And then after Jordan, there was a couple years there where they were still trying to do that, but they didn't have like these great one-on-one players in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So that's so it was a kind of a shitty game, like in 99, 2000, like
right.
It was just clear out and watch a guy miss a shot. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then they changed, and I think I think it's good that they did this. It's a more entertaining game, especially for younger fans. But they went to allowing the zone in 2001, I think it was, or somewhere around there.
It was, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact year.
So that, that kind of changed the game quite a bit. But yeah, to me, I mean, I got to go with the 2000s on this, even though I tend to go with the older guys a bit, but yeah, I think, oh my gosh, you got Tracy McGrady, like not getting off the bench on this team.
Yeah,
like,
Tracy McGrady's getting like limited minutes on this team.
Yeah, he's getting garbage time. I mean, it's a pretty easy choice.
Yao Ming's not even seeing the court. Neither is Paul Pierce. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, plain and simple, though, like if you just look at the rosters, 2000s have an answer for everything on the 70s, and it doesn't go the other way though.
Yeah.
The 2000s, who the hell is going to guard Kobe and LeBron and D-Wade? I mean, it's just, they'd just be running circles around them. It wouldn't even be close. I think it's a 40-point game, honestly. Yeah. I think it's a 40-point game.
And one of the things that's hard is when you're comparing eras, like, of course, a 1970s player isn't going to be the physical specimen of a current player.
Right.
So, we've had the discussion before, like Babe Ruth. Yeah, if you went back in time, did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and plucked Babe Ruth out of 1927 and brought him, to 2020 or 2019, I guess, and put him in the batter's box, he'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Like, he would have no chance. That doesn't mean if you plucked him here as a baby and had him, raised and nutrition and training and all that, like maybe he could be a great player. But anyway,
the
point being, like, it's hard to, if you're going to go piece by piece, you kind of have to look at how they compared to their own generation.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. But even, I mean, if you look at the '70s roster, other than like Dr. J, Walt Frazier, I mean John Havlicek was extremely skilled, but none of these guys were even known as being athletic for their generation.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, all of these guys were just really skilled. You got some good shooters, and then you got some lumbering white boys. So yeah, okay. Next matchup, that would be the '60s versus the '80s. Do you wanna start or?
Yeah, sure. So the '60s has some really outstanding players.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, might be lacking a little depth here on this team. So our starting five here is really solid. Oscar Robertson is a player that people talk about him, but probably not enough. He was a triple double machine. Averaged a triple double a couple seasons, I believe, and was right there. And you got Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. One of my dad's favorite players. Just an out. He could play today. Now he might not score a ton, but at 6'10", he was a good athletic player. He could block shots. He was a crazy, crazy shot blocker with incredible instincts.
Dude was ripping Stogs in the locker room post game interviews after he just
That's right. That's
put
right.
up 30 and 30 on someone.
You got the freaking logo on this team. You got Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, outstanding, and then there's a lot of really, really good players on this team. But that your starting five is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
For the '60s, and kind of drops off after that.
So.
And then '80s, right?
'80s, yeah.
Yeah. So '80s. I mean, my gosh. Yeah, '60s guys, you're gonna have some trouble here because there's just an outstanding player, and really deep. I mean, oh my gosh, you got Dominique Wilkins as one of the last players on the list here. Magic Johnson, who's he's probably my favorite non-Sonic. I just loved watching him play. I mean, you got a 6'9" point guard that could play center.
Yeah, did in the playoffs.
Center, and it said, "Yeah, coach, I can play center.
Yep.
If our center's out, so I can play center." Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Moses Malone.
Keep in mind, okay, so also Michael Jordan. This is not a prime Michael, not a prime Hakeem, not a prime Kareem either.
True, yeah, but they were still damn good. I mean, Michael was actually, his '80s years were really good. He averaged, I think, 37 points in one of those years.
Oh, wow.
They weren't winning titles yet because he was still kind of figuring it out, and the team around him was horrible. But he was really, really good. 2K has him rated as a 98, so real close to the top there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is you got the Iceman, George Gervin, on here. I mean,
very underrated.
Can't beat a guy named the Iceman, can you?
Very underrated player. Let's see.
Yeah.
In the '80s, best year for Mike in the '80s, he averaged 35. Or actually, no, he averaged 37.
Yeah.
When he was 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they got a few more pieces around him.
Wow, his highest scoring year was when he was 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played all 82. I wonder what was their record that year. They were 40 and 42.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just didn't have anyone around him.
Yeah.
So are you taking the '80s then?
Oh yeah, I got to take the '80s. I just think that the starting lineup on the '80s team here matches the '60s team, and then just the depth. You got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but no, not in this matchup. But
yeah.
But Kareem, that wasn't prime Kareem, but he was still really good in the '80s.
I think Moses Malone is the most underrated center in NBA history.
Yeah.
He has rebound records. Just look up his rebounding numbers. He has unbreakable rebounding records. And he wasn't. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was not very tall.
6'10".
6'10". Okay, yeah. So, and especially during that time, that's when you just had those huge dudes. 6'10" center is pretty common now, but he was insane. And then you got obviously not quite a prime Hakeem or Mike, but they were still incredible at the time. Isaiah Thomas. It's tough.
then you got James Worthy. Like he was a great player.
He's one of the most underrated players in NBA history as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I just don't see. I mean, what the seventh man is Bob Pettit for the '60s. He was very good, but no,
Yeah.
I mean,
You just
just
don't
not.
have
It
the
just
depth
doesn't.
to compete.
It just doesn't stack up at all. I mean, you got Kareem as like the 10th man on this team, so
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to.
Sorry, Dad. We got rid of all the old guys.
Oh wow, yeah. I wonder. Actually, yeah. Grax, go ahead and email us your opinion on that one because yeah, I feel like you might disagree. So next up, we got the 2000s versus the 2010s.
2000 versus 2010.
Yeah.
So this is a tricky one, and let me just say, I gotta say something.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say something right here.
Okay.
So,
okay.
you know, I really didn't watch the NBA for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
After the Sonics left.
Basketball depression in Seattle.
Yeah.
Still
so I
in it.
watched it a little bit, the playoffs a little bit last year, and that was really the first time that I had watched it. And you kind of got me hooked into it a little bit. But that was my favorite sport, maybe in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, loved those Sonics teams, and then broke my heart when they got pulled out of Seattle. And David Stern. I'm sorry for your family for their loss, but fuck you, David Stern.
Yeah, I mean,
I will see you in hell. Can you hear me? I will see you in hell.
Oh my God. You can't do that. By the way, when David Stern died, I told you we both just kind of looked at each other and just didn't really say anything and just went about our day. It was just kind of
he did a lot of good things for the game, but that was unforgivable for me. So anyway, moving on. So I just had to throw that out there. So I didn't watch a lot of games, and I was aware of it, and kind of I can tell you. I know all these players, but it's not like I sat down and watched a ton of it because I had a big middle finger going at the NBA for a long time.
Also,
I still do.
Yeah, I just want to say, Seattle fans that are still protesting the NBA, I respect you. I love sports. I just can't do it. I love watching basketball. Fuck the Thunder, at least. I mean,
yeah, that'll never change.
There's some Taylor. I'm pretty sure you like the Thunder.
What? Oh boy! As soon as this social distancing stuff is over, come here, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't respect that move. Anyway, keep
okay,
going on.
all right. Sorry, it's tangent. Yeah,
big tangent.
Okay, so 2000 versus 2010. Why don't you take off with this one?
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. 2010, you got the best player in NBA history, which is Miami Heat. LeBron.
Michael Jordan played in the 2000s.
He did play in the 2000s, and he sucked ass, actually. Okay. You can relax here. You got Stephen Curry, who we will not consider the clutch factor in this. I think. I think we just go. He's one. I mean, if we consider the clutch factor, that brings Curry like way down for me. I
can't let go of that. Totally.
Yeah, it's tough to let go, but I'm just gonna judge him based off what it says here, which is 97 overall. I mean, you can argue more than that. His MVP season. I mean, I don't know how you don't think that's like a 99. Anyway, Kevin Durant, I think maybe the best scorer of our generation. And then you got Chris Paul. I think will go down as possibly the most underrated point guard in NBA history. Go watch his highlights from when he was on the Hornets and his early Clippers days. Absolutely insane. I wish he could have been on better teams, had a chance at a championship when he was in his prime.
And a true point guard.
Yeah.
There just aren't many true point guards that distribute the ball.
One of the last true point guards in the league. Kawhi Leonard, go Aztecs. One of the best two-way players in NBA history.
Yeah.
If you want to count the clutch factor, then he's your guy. He'll drag a team when he needs to. James Harden.
Ooh, not a fan.
Here's the thing about James Harden. Obviously a great scorer, but he is, little known fact, every All-Star game he's played in, he has done terrible. He plays awful with other stars. So I think he's actually a hindrance to this team. I think he probably he starts to feel a little selfish at some point. I think he, you know, he'll probably put up his step backs and stuff more often. You know, when he's touching the ball because the ball will be distributed more, so he'll feel like he wants to get his still or whatever. Giannis, who's gonna guard Giannis in the 2000s? I mean, you got LeBron, KG, and you got Shaq in the paint, Tim Duncan. I mean, Giannis, he's only a 96 here, but I think we can. I think for me at least, I'm putting him above that just because. I think he's only a 96 here because he was only dominant the last 2 years,
Right.
2 3 years. So I'm putting him above. You know, I'm ranking him higher than 2K is. I don't know who can stop him.
Tim Duncan might slap it back in his face though.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. But then, like I said, I already talked about the 2000s. Pretty much everyone's in their prime. LeBron isn't in his prime, but
He was so really good.
similar to 80s Jordan. Like, you know,
Right.
he was almost in his best form. Man,
This to me is kind of a toss up. Like I
yeah.
really struggle with this one.
I think I'm taking the 2000s because of their depth.
Really? Wow.
I think I'm taking them because of their depth. I think after Giannis, you have a not prime Dwayne Wade. You do have MVP Derrick Rose. You have Russell Westbrook, who I don't think adds a ton.
No.
Dwight Howard was his prime. I mean, yeah, I guess that was his prime.
Early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? There are too many guys on the 2010s teams that I just frankly don't like.
There are a ton of
Like I wouldn't,
guys.
if I were coaching this team, I wouldn't want them. Like I don't want Harden on my team.
There are way too many ball dominant guys on the 2010s.
I don't want Westbrook on my team.
I don't think the 2010s would play well together. And obviously that's speculation, but think about how many ball dominant guys you have. You have LeBron, Steph, KD, Chris Paul, James Harden, Giannis, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. Those are all guys that dominate the ball. And Dwight Howard, when he was in his prime, was a little bitch and wanted to dominate the ball too. He wouldn't do the pick and roll or anything. Even AD, even Dwayne Wade. I mean, all of them really. All of them were ball dominant.
And some of these guys are good at sharing the ball, but you got a bunch of guys on here that are I in my opinion selfish ball hogs that I wouldn't want on my team.
Yeah, and
so it just got a lot. Fuck the 2010 team. I can't stand those guys.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Oh wow. All right. I think and I just think with the 2000s team, I mean the ball dominant guys, you have Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, AI, and D Wade, and then but Vince and T-Mac, but they're like towards the bottom of the bench. So
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they'll get minutes off or they'll get the ball on the bench. Steve Nash too. Like they're coming off the bench, so they'll be able to dominate the ball off the bench. These 2010s guys, all of them require the ball at all times, pretty much. Yeah, so I think definitely 2000s there, and I think obviously you agree with that. So that brings us to the 80s versus the 90s. So this one for me kind of comes down a lot to how much do you value 80s Michael Jordan versus 90s Michael Jordan?
Right.
And also same with Hakeem. That's kind of a big factor. I think I'm going to weigh it pretty, like, I'm going to say 90s Michael Jordan is a decent bit better than 80s just for the sake of this. Just because, you know, if they were like the same player, it would just be kind of boring to try to compare these two. So you got, okay, let me look through. You got Magic, Larry. Yeah, I mean, I think the 90s team is just so athletic. The 80s team, once you get past Isaiah Thomas, George Gervin, and like not prime Kareem. This is not prime Kareem.
Right.
I mean, all these guys. I mean, I guess you do have athletic guys on the 80s team too, to be fair. I think I'm going with 90s though, straight off the bat. I mean, even Shaq, even though he's like, this is like, you know, very young Shaq, I think he can match up with Kareem, an old Kareem, you know.
I like I like the defense that we have on the '90s team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got great. I mean, you got David Robinson. That guy I believe had a quadruple double one
Mm-hmm.
time. 10 blocks, 10 assists.
Yeah.
You got rebounds and scoring. You got Gary Payton locking it down. Like you just have so. Alonzo Mourning was a great defensive center. Like I think the '80s team would really have a hard time scoring. Against some of these '90s guys, but the '90s guys still have enough athleticism to score.
Also, I think
on
Scottie
better end.
Pippen.
Well, yeah, Scottie Pippen, one of the best defensive
I
wing guys of all time.
Yeah, I think he's too high on this list though compared to some of these other guys.
Yeah, I would
honestly.
probably drop him down a little bit. But yeah,
I guess they're all around the same.
Yeah,
rating,
they're
but-
96 or 97, probably a toss up. But yeah, I mean, my gosh, they got Penny Hardaway, who was just outstanding early in his career before he had injury trouble. Grant Hill, wow. Yeah, your last two players are Grant Hill and Shaquille O'Neal. That ain't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means 90s versus
Here we
2000s. Interesting. Okay, so let's think about this for a sec. 90s versus 2000s. I feel like that's pretty interesting because I don't even think like I don't know, it's weird. I wouldn't think of those two eras as like even the best eras of basketball, really. Like I don't know. I mean,
it's weird, yeah.
I wouldn't have expected the 2000s team to really stand out to me this much, but when you look at the list, it's just insane. I mean, I think
it's hard with comparing these two because again, like we mentioned earlier, you've got the two different eras. So the 90s was a very defensive dominated era, and 2000s things opened up with the allowing the zone, so you have more scorers.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard to evaluate those two because the rules were so different. Of course all these guys could play in either era and be outstanding.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not gonna say that makes a huge difference, but it makes it harder to compare them to each other.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm gonna go with 2000s.
Shocker.
Yeah, I'm going with 2000s. My reasoning for this is I think it's similar. I've used this reasoning earlier too. I think the 2000s has a matchup for everyone on the 90s team, and I don't think it goes the other way.
Ooh.
And I think the 2000s has more depth, and I think if you put the 2000s players into the 90s, I could confidently say that they would. I think a lot of them would get better, and I think if you put the 90s players into the 2000s, I don't think they would get better.
All right, let's listen to this. Let me teach you a little lesson here, Sonny boy. Where's my walker and where's my cane? Listen to this. So my last two players on this list are Grant Hill and Shaquille O'Neal. Let me tell you what Shaquille O'Neal did in the 1990s, okay? 23-14 in his rookie year, 29-13, 29-11, 27-11, 26-13, 28-11. That's my last guy on the team. Really? That's my last guy on the team. So I'm bringing him off the. And what's funny, I'm not even a huge Shaq guy. Like you go Shaq versus Kobe. I like Kobe being the competitor.
Yeah.
I think Shaq was just a dominant physical. But man, who's gonna guard Shaq? You can't.
Better Shaq?
Huh?
Better Shaq.
Oh yeah, you got to
better. Literally, just better Shaq.
Not really. He got fat.
This man honestly thinks 90s Shaq is better than 2000s.
I didn't say that, but I think he's underrated. I think he's not to me he's a 96, not a 93. I disagree with this rating. This is the one rating that I look at and I wonder how is a guy who's given you 28 and 13 every night for most of that decade a 93. Have you ever
seen the highlights of the first time of when Shaq met a rookie Yao Ming?
No, I have not.
Yao Ming owned his ass in his rookie year. The first, I might be wrong. I want to say the first He blocked Shaq on the first 2 possessions of the game and scored on Shaq the first 2 possessions of the game.
Yao Ming couldn't even play. He played for like 3 years and broke apart. But man, I mean, I got Michael Jordan. I've got Hakeem Olajuwon, who I know he's a big man, but he could play today. He was a very athletic.
I agree with that.
Man.
I do agree with that.
John Stockton, true point guard. He might struggle a little bit in the modern game. He'd still be great. He's kind of like the point guard we were talking about earlier, Paul. Help me out here.
Oh, sorry. What, Paul?
The point guard you were talking about earlier, who's a true point guard in the 2010s.
Paul. Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. Thank you. So John Stockton, kind of a Chris Paul-like guy.
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen, one of the best defenders ever.
Mm-hmm.
You got Karl Malone, a great scorer. Maybe not the best human, but we're not talking about that. Clyde Drexler, I think a very underrated player.
Definitely.
David Robinson. Oh my God. I mean, that guy could guard anybody. He could play today.
I agree with that.
Gary Payton. I mean,
yeah.
Come on now. Penny Hardaway. Ewing is a guy. I don't think Ewing could play too well. He would take a step back in the modern era. Alonzo Mourning, a 6'10 center, very athletic. He could play today. Grant Hill could play in any era. And then Shaq, it's hard to say. Like, he was very athletic for how big he was. I think he would still play. He might not be,
quite as dominant. But I mean, you just got better Shaq. I mean, like,
yeah, you do. Yeah.
Like, okay, so
but I'm throwing Hakeem and David Robinson at him.
Yeah, I'm throwing KG, Shaq, Tim Duncan. I will say the big man depth. Like, after that, I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is not a good defender, but I also think that I think the 2000s team spreads the floor very well. I mean, you got Steve Nash, so underrated, even with 2 MVPs, which honestly Kobe probably should have won one or both of those MVPs that Steve Nash won. But
yeah,
Steve Nash obviously incredible. You got the Flash, Dwayne Wade in his prime, carried that Heat team to a championship with old ass Shaq. And then you got, I mean, man, Vince Carter. Are you kidding me? Like, come on now. Vince Carter, and you got Tracy McGrady too, obviously. I mean, Tracy McGrady, I think there's an interesting tweet about, with no injuries and in their prime, who's better, T-Mac or Kevin Durant? And I sent that to some friends. Nick, if you're watching this, you said it was obviously KD. I don't think that's the case. I think if T-Mac was fully healthy for his whole career, I think T-Mac might even be better than Kevin Durant as a scorer. And then Paul Pierce, I've given Paul Pierce some shit over the last couple of years because he's made some clown ass takes on the air, but I think he's actually underrated. I think he gets hated a lot. I mean, if you check the stats, he's dropped 40 on pretty much everyone's favorite player. So like, I think obviously, and he's just a floor spreader for this team. And I mean, Yao Ming owned Shaq's ass. So,
To me, if we're playing this game in 90s rules, the 90s team wins. If we're playing in 2000s rules, the 2000s team wins. I think the 90s team, in my opinion, is clearly a better defensive team. The 2000s team probably has more offense. But
I think if you let LeBron hack people and you let Tim Duncan hack people and KG and Yao Ming, I think they play just as well with 90s rules.
Nah, I don't see it.
I mean, LeBron's like this insane physical specimen. You don't think he could take contact?
And I got Michael Jordan coming in, right, to hit the big shots. So I got the greatest player in the history of basketball.
Oh my god. By the way, we're gonna have a full LeBron versus Jordan debate episode at some point.
Really.
We're gonna have a full debate there about that at some point. Okay. We're gonna actually take a cut right here. We'll be right back. All right, we are back from a little pee break. Just to finish off the show real quick, we have one more. Imagine if you were the owner of the Mariners and you were presented with the opportunity to trade the Mariners for an NBA franchise. What do you do?
I trade for the NBA. Podcast over. Good day, everybody. We'll see ya. Have a good one.
All right. Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead, check out Dad's book, High Points. Check out my Twitter, Mason Charles Coe on Twitter. Again, if you guys have made it this far, shout out to you. But I mean, let's get real here. I mean, are we? The Mariners have had their plenty of chances to be okay at baseball, and they have shit away every single opportunity they've had. Yeah, give me the Sonics. We're a basketball city. We're not a baseball city. People forget about it.
Let me set this up a little bit. So first of all, we're both huge baseball fans. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I played baseball. Like 13 years of my life, something like that.
Gosh, how many hours have you watched the MLB Network? Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. I coached a lot of baseball and softball. I love the game. I truly do love it. I love the Mariners. I do. I don't know why. I don't know why I love them, because all they do is break my heart every year. And every year I'm optimistic.
Yeah,
because I'm stupid.
I'm glad this year they just admitted they were gonna suck.
Yeah,
nice.
Which makes me angry. But I'm like, okay, at least you're not giving me bullshit this year.
Yeah.
Oh, we think this young guy coming up.
He's going to save the whole fucking franchise from a 20-year drought of anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's an easy choice. There was we were actually watching.
Wait, do the Mariners owners, are they going to own the NBA franchise?
No, you are the owner.
Okay. Because I don't want these Mariners owners anywhere near. I know they changed a few years ago.
That's true. I'd rather have them ruin the Mariners than ruin the Sonics.
Yeah, I don't want them anywhere near my new franchise. Yeah. Find me a different owner.
I mean, it's kind of just crazy at this point that we don't have one. I think the talent pool is plenty good.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I just, we've done all we can as a city. We have the new arena. We have the NHL team coming soon, which, by the way, I'm hearing more and more rumors that the name is going to be the Seattle Kraken. Opinions?
What the hell?
I wish it was Krakens. I don't like singular team names.
Yeah.
It just sounds like, I don't know, like a softball team name, or the Kraken. I don't know. I think shout out. I think it was Channer that first told me this idea, but he was the one that came up with the Steelheads. I don't know. He didn't come up with it, but he was the one that told me about it. I mean, Steelheads is great, local fish, and also, you got like Steelheads,
Right.
I think it would work really well.
My understanding is that they were having some copyright issues with that because there's another team somewhere that uses that name.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they get into I think that's part of the reason they haven't announced stuff, is because they're trying to figure out what they can actually use, or who do they have to buy out,
And the Kraken isn't even a part of like Seattle. Like that's like European mythology, isn't it?
I'm not one thing I've noticed with the name Kraken is that, total tangent here.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've noticed with the name Kraken is people are like, if you ever listen to Softy on KJR, like he's a big proponent of it. But there are people who love it and there are people who hate it. Where a name like Steelheads, I feel like, it doesn't invoke any super strong opinions. Like, I fucking hate the name Steelheads. Like, you don't hear that. But with Kraken, probably half the people hate it and half the people think it's awesome because it's original and unique and all that. But I don't know.
I guess, honestly, if the what are they called, sweaters in hockey? If the sweaters are cool, I will definitely buy one if they're cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because I think hockey sweaters are dope. But
okay. We were talking about
I don't even. We were talking about NHL team name, I guess. I don't know. I mean, Kraken, it's whatever. I wish it would have had to do more with the city, I guess. But I really do like the idea of the fans being the crackheads and it being the crack house or the crack shack.
That's like the worst part of the.
That is the best.
That's
part.
not a good thing.
That's the best part. It's not even spelled like actual crack cocaine. It's spelled Krak. Crack house. We in the crack house. The crackheads. I mean, that's the best part. That's the best part of the name, hands down. There. Anyway, okay. I think I think we can wrap it up here.
No, we got to
No?
go. We're not done with the Mariners songs
Okay, yeah.
yet.
What else do you have to say?
So the reason. So I'm not even a huge NBA fan.
Yeah.
But anything that I could do to get rid of the ownership, I'm all in favor of that. I love the Mariners, but really they had one little run. Obviously we just watched the 95 game 5 against the Yankees the other night. They had that run in 95 through 2001. They were pretty good in 2002 also. And that was when Lou Piniella was the manager. Take Lou Piniella out of Seattle, and they are garbage for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
So it's not because I like basketball better than baseball. It's because I want a franchise that is trying to win games.
Yeah. I just think the Mariners have had the opportunity. They're relatively new in the scope of the entire MLB, but they've had plenty of years to make a run at it, and they had the record amount of wins in the season, but they still didn't even really make a run at anything. Like,
Right.
The only memorable thing in Mariners history was Edgar's double. The only reason it was memorable is because it kept the team here.
Yeah.
Like we would have not had a baseball team if it weren't for that. It wasn't even like, to go to the World Series or to win the World Series. It was just to keep a baseball team here. So
Right.
if that's the shining moment of the franchise, is keeping a team here, like that's what we have to show for it, is that we're still here.
And
like,
that was an outstanding moment, and it's one of my favorite sports memories because it was so exciting.
Dave
But
Newhouse's call gives me chills every time I hear it. Or
yeah.
even if I say it to myself, that call gives me chills.
Yeah. But ultimately, that put them in the ALCS. And then in 2001, they went to the ALCS, faced a heavily roided up Roger Clemens.
Man, if you don't have a pennant, I don't care though. Like
No,
going to the ALCS.
I get annoyed when I go to, it's not Safeco Field anymore. It's that goddamn pink phone company, whatever it is. By the way, if you want to sponsor us though, I wear pink shit. I don't care.
Yeah. Shout out to
but I look up at that banner from 2001 and it says, MLB record 116 wins, and it's still just like, it was awesome. I tell you, that season, during the season, was so fun. Like, we were the talk of the town, or talk of the nation, and it was so fun. And we had the All-Star game here that year, and we had 8 or 9 All-Stars
records.
Yeah, I think it's still the record, and it was so fun. But then it comes all just tumbling down against the Yankees, who was probably our biggest rival then, as weird as that sounds, but they really were. So it ended in disappointing fashion. They've never really been close. Even that year, I knew they weren't going to win because they didn't have a dominant number one. They had like 5 really good pitchers, but no number one starter. And it was just still a disappointment. So give me the NBA. I'd love to be a big fan of the NBA again. I would love an owner who goes for it. And going for it doesn't mean big free agents. It means hiring the right people.
Yeah.
It means drafting the right players and developing them, and then sprinkling in a couple, free agents or trades where needed. That's how you win. The Mariners are a freaking joke. I hope that this new owner and GM that's been in place for a couple of years, I hope this plan works. But I have zero faith.
So far, things seem to be falling into place, but in baseball especially, that still leaves a ton of question marks.
Yeah, because who knows? Is it Evan White that's their first baseman that they signed to a major league contract, and he's never played a game he's never played a major league game.
That's gonna look really stupid, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if he's good, great, good move.
Yeah.
But we have all these guys. Great, you're ranked high in the prospect list, and we have the number 4 prospect ranking in MLB. That don't mean shit.
No.
We have potential, but it doesn't mean we haven't done anything, and I will believe it when I see it. So Mariners, figure your shit out, because I would love. There's nothing like a baseball stadium when it's full and the town is excited and it's summer, and I'd love to see that again. So Mariners, we can't really trade you for a basketball team, so you got to figure your shit out,
Yeah,
please. I'm begging you.
Man, it's the NBA is a very fun. It's very fun to be a fan of the NBA as a whole. Currently, with I mean, I dive into kind of the behind the scenes things like the social media and all that
You
stuff.
like the soap opera of it. Ooh, where's this guy gonna go? Where's LeBron gonna play this year? Who's LeBron gonna bring with him? You like it's a soap opera, man.
It's entertaining. I think
Yeah.
it's entertaining, much more so than the NBA or much more so than the MLB.
Yeah.
I also think like I've lost respect for the MLB as a whole, how they handled the Astros thing. Robert Manfred is a fucking stooge.
He's a joke. He really is.
And Adam Silver is my favorite commissioner in the history of sports. At least for sure the ones that have been around while I was alive. I mean, he just gets shit done. He understands. We've talked about it. He understands the players. He understands the fans. He knows. He knows what good business is, and that he's willing to make some sacrifices here and there for kind of the long term happiness of the players and the people that watch the game,
Yeah,
which is who's paying for everything. I mean, you know what I mean. So
he gets it. And another aspect of this I think it's gonna hurt the MLB is my dad's my dad's favorite game is baseball, and he watches it. That's what he does. He sits there. He's a Yankees fan. Sorry, everybody. But he watches the Yankees every day, and that's what he does. Doesn't really watch the other sports a ton. But when when his generation's gone and it's gonna take a dip, and when mine is gone, what's left? I think it doesn't move fast enough for, I don't know, for your.
There's not even really baseball fans in really my generation. Even the people that played baseball, like even my friends, they follow football more than baseball.
And the generation that's coming in after you, they don't even play baseball. Like Little League, like I was on the Little League board here locally, and the numbers just keep going down.
Numbers are like in half from when I was in Little League 7 years ago.
They need something that moves. They don't want to stand there and watch a pitch and wait for the ball to come to them a couple times a game. They don't understand the anticipation of something happening. They need something happening all the time.
There's just like the tiny little nuances of the game that take a long time to really start to understand, and kids just don't have the patience, or they just find something else they're interested in. I think, for example, video games have become a really big thing, which, that good or bad, that's, your opinion or whatever.
It is what it is.
But also, it's interesting because a lot of football attendance, I don't know the numbers, but that's got to be down for other reasons, obviously. So it's like, where are these kids turning? Maybe soccer, maybe we're going to actually be able to compete. Obviously, the women's soccer team is, consistently the best in the world, but maybe men's soccer will actually be good. Or, maybe the NBA, when my generation is old, maybe the NBA will just be all of the best athletes are in the NBA. Period.
Right.
And maybe basketball. I could very well see in basketball in America just being full of the best athletes in the entire world, because now you got guys coming over from all these different countries looking for that NBA clout in America. I just, all signs to me are pointing towards the NBA continuing to improve and kind of everything around it slowly crumbling. That's just what I've been seeing. Other than soccer on a world scale obviously is established and it'll be around forever.
And soccer may come up more in the U.S. Hell, lacrosse might be.
Yeah.
Will there be pro lacrosse in 20 years? Probably.
Yeah.
Like if you would have told me when I was a kid that there would be an MLS, to the level that it is, and it's not up to the top 3 yet, but top 4. But I would have laughed at you, even though I played soccer when I was a kid. My parents didn't know what the fuck soccer was.
Yeah.
That's how lacrosse is for me. I don't know what it is, but your generation and the kids below are play. So that may come up, but MLB, I'm worried about it. I love baseball. I'm kind of concerned about its longevity, as I could see it continuing to kind of sink down a little bit, because football, there's some places where attendance might be down, especially in college. But football's still a TV sport. So, okay, maybe I don't want to go to the game, but I want to watch it on my 70-inch plasma, with my cooler here, and I got my beer and my chips and all
Yep.
that. I can go take a piss when I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all that. So I can understand that. But the MLB, like, people don't just sit down and watch an MLB game all that often.
Yeah,
for me, it's usually in the background.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, even me, like, as someone that played baseball for quite a few years, the difference between going to a ballpark and watching a game versus watching it on TV is astronomical as far as entertainment and the whole experience. It's not, I mean, like, realistically, when I really think about it, obviously I love going to live sporting events. Football and basketball games are super fun to go to, but I still have an amazing experience when I just watch it on TV. Baseball, I'm on my phone, I'm on Twitter, like, I like, even as someone that understands a lot of those, little nuances, more so than I would say, like, obviously people that didn't play baseball, and even, like, the casual baseball fan, I still get bored watching baseball sometimes, and it's sad. And I don't know. I think it's just how fast the world moves now. I don't know if there's even a way to solve it. And that's the sad part, is because I love the game, but when you're watching it from afar and you're not in it, unless you have a team that you really, really care about, it can be hard to watch, honestly.
I think part of the problem, I don't know how they do this. I don't know how they fix this, but what they need to do is find a way to get more balls in play and get more base running, because it's not just the generation difference. It's there's not as much happening. There aren't as many balls put in play. You don't have, the Ricky Hendersons of the world. There just aren't and that's an extreme example. But every team had a couple guys that were base stealing threats, and now guys don't steal bases because the analytics say, well, they might get thrown out, and then you take it, blah 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 blah, and you're trying to play for the homer.
I think it's gotten way too analytical, and I think the analytics work, but I think it's gotten too analytical for its own good. I think with football, I'm more of a proponent of analytics in football. With baseball, like, I just think it's affected the game in a negative way as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, when it's a strikeout or a home run, it just, I want I want the ball put in play. I want guys running.
Yeah.
Oh, is it going to be safe or is it going to be out? Well, if it's a strikeout or a home run, you don't have that anticipation. The only anticipation is that going to hook foul, or is that going to, that's
I really think they juice the balls too, and I don't think it's helped at all, because, like you said, it's not putting more balls in play. It's not more action. It's just deeper fly balls. Like, that's it. They wanted to recreate the steroid era pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, kids can just, find so much more high fast paced content with bright colors, and to a lot of casual fans and people that don't watch baseball, watching a hitter take a pitch is like an unsuccessful pitch as a viewer. For someone like me or you, or someone that is really a baseball fan, that, like, you're thinking about how it changes the situation in the count. You're thinking about what the pitcher's thinking, what the hitter's thinking, what the next pitch is going to be. What the goal of the hitter is. Other than obviously just getting a hit or getting on base. There's so many different things. Like, where where's the outfield is the outfield gonna try to throw the guy out at home? All these different things you're thinking about. But if you don't spend the time watching or playing baseball, you're not gonna naturally think about that kind of stuff, and it just is like, oh, literally nothing happened right there.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's the difference between people that actually kind of watch and understand baseball and people that don't, which is totally understandable, because from the outside looking in, baseball looks like a boring ass sport to watch if you're not picking up on that kind of stuff.
Right. So yeah, give me back my Sonics.
Yeah. Bye, Mariners. Sorry. I mean, you just wasted too many careers and too many hours of my life.
I love you, but I had a good deal on the table and I had to take it. Bring back my Sonics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that is probably a good place to wrap it up.
Thank you everybody who's listening.
If you're still listening now, I don't know why, but thank you.
We're just this is what we do. Like,
I mean, yeah,
we just put a microphone in front of us.
Yeah, this is just. I mean, yesterday, like we were having conversations like this yesterday, and I was like, "Damn, we could be podcasting literally right now."
We should have recorded that. That was better than this.
I should just carry around microphones everywhere. No, but seriously, I mean, I'm hoping this sounds natural, somewhat. I feel like it is pretty natural, just conversationally between us. If you guys have any suggestions, sports, obviously everything is really dry right now, so we're trying to come up with, I guess a little bit more creative ideas, things like the bracket and our top 10 personal favorite players. So if you guys have stuff you want us to talk about, I mean, literally anything, it doesn't hurt to suggest it. I mean, yeah, just thank you very much for listening. Obviously, check out the book on Amazon soon. Lulu.com.
It's on Lulu.com right now, available now. You can also get the ebook on Lulu.com or on through your Apple, so as iBooks, whatever it's called. And it'll soon be available on other places as well.
For this podcast, currently available on YouTube and Spotify. Hopefully Apple Podcasts soon. I still have to work out the logistics of that. And yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to subscribe or leave a like or a comment. We will take we will take criticism and we will take support. By the way, also thank you for everyone that did show us support. We received a lot of support on the first one.
So fun to get so many texts and
yeah, I mean, we had friends, Tyler and Taylor, shout out to you guys. They actually sent us their top 10 favorite players list, so if you guys I mean, feel free to give us your thoughts on the decisions we made based on the Decades team. And yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. See ya.